Good day, my powerful, powerful friends. And actually, I just noticed I started this recording at 11:11 on my clock, so that may be something significant for someone. Anyways, I am so glad you have chosen to join me today for this truly one of a kind message. And I fully, fully trust that there's a reason your intuition guided you to this video. Now, recently, a lot of messages have been coming through for the Twin Flame Collective, and even some messages on how the Twin Flame Collective is evolving and changing in modern times. But this message did not feel as though it was for the Twin Flames. It seems like it was meant for anyone who resonates with the feminine energy in the collective, which really is all of us, because after all, we are made from a male and a female, so we have both energies within us. And while I was speaking, I saw 111 on the timer. Anyways, this message is really pertaining to the feminine side of your lineage that you inherited through your mother when you came into this world. So while I was meditating, I saw my masculine side come out of one side of me, and it was this blue energy. It was a bunch of little energy particles, actually, and it came out of one side of me, and then my feminine side came out of the other side of me, and it was a bunch of red little energy particles. So they both came out and they met in the middle directly in front of me. And these two energies began to swirl together, and they worked in the most divine, perfect harmony. And they created this gorgeous, majestic, bright, vibrant purple. And it was as though I was observing the most beautiful dance I have ever seen two entities be able to create. There was this feeling as I was witnessing this dance that these two energies respected one another and loved one another and were in harmony with one another. One energy did not overpower the other energy. And they both fully saw each other, and they both valued one another. They realized that they couldn't make this gorgeous purple that was the most vibrant purple I've ever seen without each part of one another. So, the red energy couldn't make the purple without the blue, and the blue couldn't make it without the red. And so I felt that they honored one another with this, and they definitely supported one another and even felt safe with one another to make this dance happen. And I really felt this appreciative energy coming from these energies, just knowing that each part recognized the sacredness of one another. It was so incredibly beautiful to witness, better than any dance you've ever seen on Dancing with the Stars. So after the dance was completed, they re-entered my body in this new purple form. They were blended together in just this perfect harmony. And so it was only after my meditation that I realized these were my own energies that are within me. And I know that sounds kind of silly to say right now, but in the moment, it was such a profound discovery. It caused this incredible mind shift. The mind shift was huge, and I felt as though I had collapsed lots and lots and lots of timelines that were looping through my mother's lineage. There is a fear in the maternal lineage that, quote unquote, you cannot make it on your own. Okay, and this can represent all kinds of things in today's world. And I'll get into that a little later on in the video. But first, I want to actually dissect why this fear is even surfacing within your lineage and why it continues to loop. So, to examine the fear, we actually have to go back in history and see how society was for your maternal line and how society affected your lineage. So, I asked Spirit to actually show me some examples, and I immediately saw the biggest, the thickest, the largest book I have ever seen in my entire life. And I immediately saw it in my mind's eye, and it just fell down on this table. I thought the table was actually going to break because the book was so heavy. And my guides kind of laughed and they were like, "Oh, you want some examples?" I have lots and lots and lots and lots of examples to show you. So I was curious and I wanted to dig deep and investigate. So I flipped open the book. And the very first word that I saw when I opened the book was coverture. And I really didn't even know what that meant. And I ended up having to look up that word after my meditation was over. But coverture actually is, well, basically, I guess it's a doctrine where women's legal existence was only established through her husband. So she did not have any legal rights outside of her husband. So that meant like she couldn't own her own property. She couldn't sue anyone if they had done her wrong. She couldn't sue in her actual own name. And she definitely couldn't sign any type of contract. And what I realized was that all of this suppression actually started way, way, way before she was married, because a female baby was given her father's name and then later on her husband's name. And then as I went on to this next page beside it, I was taken back to the Bible, where Eve was specifically created to be Adam's helper. So Adam was here on his own, but then he couldn't make it, so he had Eve made to be his helper. And I flipped the page, and in the book, I actually saw a section on arranged marriages where fathers would quite literally arrange a marriage for their daughter due to the man's wealth or what they could extract from the man that their daughter was going to marry. It was also done for power. So I'm not saying that this always happens in arranged marriages, but this book was showing me throughout history different examples of how a woman was given over to a man regardless of her feelings towards the situation, regardless of what her intuition was saying was best and highest good for her. It didn't matter. It's as though she'd had no voice in how her life was dictated, no matter how she felt. And this is real things that women in our lineage faced. And honestly, most of us don't even have to go back to the days of the Bible. We have examples in our recent history of when our maternal line was suppressed. So it wasn't too long ago that here in the United States, women got the right to vote. And I remember watching, I think it was 1923. I don't think it was Yellowstone. I believe it was 1923. So the woman inherited this vast Yellowstone property because her husband died. And I actually may be getting the details a little mixed up because it has been a minute since I watched the show, but it seems like her husband passed away and she couldn't actually put the deed in her name. So it was of the utmost importance to get her nephew to come out to where the property was and put it in his name because she couldn't hold a deed. And there was someone in town that was going to take it from her because she couldn't actually put the property in her name. And if you really think about it, it wasn't until the 1970s that women could actually get a credit card in her own name here in the United States. I don't know if it's different for other countries, but you had to get one in your husband's name if you were married because it was as though women weren't responsible enough to handle their finances. And this is an example that truly wasn't a long time ago. So, no matter what, if you got property together as a married couple in the United States, the man's name was always entered first on the property. So it didn't matter if you actually made more money than your husband. It didn't matter if you had better credit than your husband. It didn't matter if you owned more individual property than your husband. If you got a loan, his name went first. Even if yours was alphabetically first, his name was written on the deed or the car title or whatever it was first. So, what I'm getting at with all of this is there was quite literally a time where women couldn't make it without a man. Now, I'm not saying it was impossible. I'm sure there were women that did it, but the way our world was structured, it made it incredibly hard for a woman to do anything legally on her own. You really couldn't be independent if you wanted access to anything modern. So, women during this time had to push down how they felt. They had to deny their intuition. Women had to sacrifice parts of their authenticity to survive. And one thing I actually do want to point out is as a female, you are born with all of the eggs that you will have for future children. So the egg that was used to create you was in your mom since she was in utero, basically, and it was actually even in your grandmother while your mother was being created. So all of these circumstances these women faced, that energy was in their bodies. Your body keeps the score. So quite literally, you inherited all of this trauma from these different lines. So naturally, there is a fear passed down generation to generation that without a masculine, you quite literally cannot survive in this world. And this is really what the new earth is changing. So after this meditation, I had to do my own reflecting, okay, on how I still held on to some type of fear that without a masculine, I would never be able to live at level 100 in this world. And when I was reflecting, one very silly thing that came up for me was moving heavy furniture. And it seems so silly to talk about right now, but my dad had passed away and I inherited lots and lots of real wood furniture. And at the time, I really didn't have space for it. I didn't need furniture. I had my own furniture, but I was still emotionally connected to it. So I didn't want to get rid of it. So I basically just put it all in the garage in the corner and left it there. Okay, well, fast forward. I was in a toxic relationship and I knew I had to leave, okay? But the one thing that held me back was how in the world I was going to be able to move all of this heavy furniture and all of these boxes that I inherited without a masculine. I felt like I couldn't do it on my own. And another fear that surfaced for me was I noticed that I had this fear that if I did live on my own, how in the world I would be able to ever repair anything in my own house that broke if I didn't have a masculine there. So I actually talked to my friend about this, and she was incredibly sweet and she was very understanding. And she understood where I was coming from, because as I talk about it, it just seems so silly that this would inhibit me from leaving a toxic relationship. But it was real. It was real for me. And so she just took a moment and she actually explained that there were lots of solutions, that I could donate the furniture, and there's actually a lot of places that will come and pick up the furniture, so I don't even have to move anything. Or we could even get all of our friends together and we as a group of women could get it all moved. And she assured me that, if anything ever broke or needed fixed in the house, well, there's definitely a YouTube video out there that teaches you how to do those things. Or I could always just pay someone to fix it. So basically, by talking it out with my friend, I discovered there are solutions. But I was letting this fear totally hold me back. And I could even see where some feminines would feel like they couldn't financially make it without their masculines, or maybe some women feel like their education level would prevent them from being able to secure a good job to make it on their own, or how would they work and take care of the kids. I mean, there's lots of fears that go on. I could even see some women maybe having a religious fear surrounded with leaving their masculine, that they may be doing something wrong if they left their masculine and it may affect their afterlife. There's many, many reasons that a feminine feels like she's trapped and she can't leave her masculine and make it on her own. But here's the thing, okay? It's all just an illusion within you. And this vision actually had nothing to do with the physical manifested relationship that I was in. It had to do with the imbalance. And if I'm channeling for you, it has to do with the imbalance within your own self of the masculine and the feminine energy. And just the knowing that these energies can be fully balanced within you, and you don't need anyone outside of you to give you or to do anything for you. You have the feminine energy within you that is able to be intuitive and know what direction you need to go in life. You have the energy within you to nurture yourself, to show grace and compassion to yourself, to feed yourself good things, to take care of yourself, to honor yourself and your sacredness. And you have the masculine energy within you that is able to provide for yourself, to do things in the world and make yourself feel safe and contained, and to be responsible for yourself and others, and to lead others. And for the person I'm channeling, this message is to let you know you have an opportunity to bring your masculine and your feminine energy within you into divine harmony, to balance them both and not let one be greater than the other, not let one dominate the other, but value all parts of yourself. The masculine part is sacred. The feminine part is sacred. They are both divine. And we can bring these parts of ourself into unity and appreciate having both and value having both and respect both of them and their capabilities. I started doing this thing, and I only want to share because it may help someone, but I started doing this thing where before I would go to sleep each night, I would bring my masculine energy out and my feminine energy out and have them meet in front of me in the middle, like in my vision. Now, I let them both speak, and they both would tell me things that they accomplished for me that particular day. And I always left it completely open. I found that sometimes my masculine would talk first, sometimes my feminine would talk first, but they did not overpower one another. They did not dominate one another. They basically did this beautiful dance where they just existed in their holy divine ways. There was no analyzing different factors in this conversation. And I do want to say that what the feminine part of you and what the masculine part of you represents to you can be different for different people. There's no need to get technical about what energy does what, okay? Just allow them to speak and speak their sovereignty and speak their authenticity. So, one example that came forth from me at night while I was letting them talk was my feminine was actually speaking about how my intuition knew that I needed to stop eating processed foods, that my inner feminine realized how much it affected my body. And, for me, my inner feminine is highly observant and she can tell instantly when something is off. And my inner masculine valued my inner feminine discovering this. So he provided my car and the money to go buy the food and the vitamins that I needed for my body. So at night when they were speaking, I actually thanked them both for working together for my best and highest good. Now, for me, my interpretation, and again, this can be totally different for you. This is your own energies within your own self. So how you label it is completely up to you. But for me, my masculine is the one who accomplishes things here in the 3D physically manifested world. So anytime I'm having to make myself pay bills or work or be present in this world, building things or thinking logically, I feel like my masculine is working within me. And anytime I nurture myself, listen to my intuition, connect with my spirit guides, and gain wisdom, I feel like my inner feminine is working within me. But what is actually really, really strange is once you start trying to label what each energy does, you find why they danced in harmony and became one energy in my vision. Because it's really hard to actually label them because they both do the exact same things. So they both protect in their own ways. They both provide. They both nurture. They both love. They both are divine. Once they are actually in unity, you can't separate them into individual items, which is really, really hard to explain in words. But that's why I say that it doesn't matter what you think the masculine does or what you think the feminine does. Eventually, when you do this exercise for a couple days, couple weeks, however long it takes, you won't be able to actually tell the difference. But by doing this little thing before bed each night, I honored the sacredness of my being, that I am actually whole within and I don't have to live my life at 90% or 95% looking for someone outside of me to save that 5% or 10% of me. I pulled all my power back to me. And that's when I realized I don't actually lack anything at all. And here is the really ironic thing about life, okay? When you become whole inside, you become this most powerful magnet. One thing I actually hate seeing on YouTube is some people's manifestation techniques because it's really making you feel like you have to get that particular thing outside of yourself in order to feel complete. Which, if you do their techniques, the more you visualize this thing that you want, the more you affirm it, the more you keep telling yourself you need it, you're actually internally telling yourself you don't have it. But here's the secret sauce of life, okay? The minute you realize you got you no matter what, and that your inner masculine and your inner feminine will always take care of you and always have the capabilities to make sure you are at your best, well, boy, oh boy, okay? You become one of the strongest magnets for anything and everything. I started attracting all kinds of things in my life simply because I really didn't care about them anymore. I didn't need those things to fulfill me. I didn't feel as though I lacked anything. And I knew if anything did come up, that I would fully be able to take care of it on my own. And for some reason, Libra is coming to my mind's eye. So someone may have some Libra energy, which of course this message is about balancing. And I think of Libra with the scales. So there may be some Libra energy if someone resonates. But, anyways, if you did resonate with this message, unity is within your reach. You did not reach this message by accident, okay? And it's not a twin flame unity where you come together with another physical person. It's a unity within you, where your mind, body, spirit, soul, every fiber in your being is united as one whole divine being, each doing their part to help you thrive. It's like your body. You have all of these organs, your stomach, your kidneys, your intestines. They all have a part, but they make a whole you. And they are doing each their part so that you can thrive. And I know this message is really hard to explain in words because it's a feeling. And you have to experience this feeling of unity within to understand what I'm saying. So, if this message was for you, I do want to thank you so much for going on this healing journey and putting in all of the hard work to change your family's lineage so that it doesn't continue in your family's future line. It takes a powerful being to overcome what has been inherited for so many generations. And thank you for collaborating with me by connecting your energy with mine so that I could share this amazing message with the collective. Mwah.